Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to AD Podcast. Today I'll be covering my experience with the Civic Mirror game. I'll be going over how I felt about the game, things I enjoyed, things I wasn't so fond of, as well as answering some questions from you, the viewers. So with all that out of the way, let's begin. So you might be wondering, what exactly is the Civic Mirror game I'm referring to? Well, the game is practically a simulation of the real world. There's government, laws, taxes, you have to manage your own family. It basically gives you a taste of how stressful the real world can and will be. At this point in the podcast, I'm going to hopefully answer some questions that some of you have sent in. First question is, what are some moves in the game that are similar to things that you can see yourself doing as a citizen of Canada in real life? In the game, there were many decisions and ideas I made that I could definitely see myself making in the real world down the line. Something I can definitely see myself doing in the future is owning my own business, also known as an entrepreneur. In the game, my business was the Power Plant Hex, one of, if not, the most important hex in the entire game. Although my days of being a business owner were short-lived due to my business partner selling the entire hex by accident, I love the feeling of managing my own business. This also brings me to my next point of possibly co-owning a business with a business partner or partners. See, the thing was, I wasn't able to afford the power plant on my own. That's why I sought out the help of Max and Cole. We decided to put all our money together to purchase the hex, and in turn, we would run it together. In the real world, running a successful business is way more difficult than it was in the game, and sometimes you can't run it all alone. That's where co-owning a business comes into play. I could see myself making similar decisions to the ones I made in the Civic Mirror further down the road. Let's just hope if I decide to co-own a business, my business partner doesn't sell the whole business on accident like my business partner in the Civic Mirror did. It appears that we're having some more questions come in. So the first question is, did democracy and freedom play a role in the Civic Mirror? Democracy actually played a huge role in the Civic Mirror. For a majority of the years in Terra, we had a conservative government. This in turn meant our country had very low taxes, but also less government assistance. Every year we had a town hall in Terra. This allowed the citizens of Terra to voice their opinions on everything happened in their country. We also had a national court and a House of Commons as well. We also had many elections throughout the multiple years in the Civic Mirror. Every election was a democratic vote where the civilians of Terra had the power to make change in the government. This allowed the country to succeed in the best way it could, because the opinions and ideas of the people were expressed and could help make positive change in the community. This worked effectively, because each year the economy improved in some way, shape, or form. Even though the changes might have been minor, it was still improving. For example, the introduction of the free food for every civilian severely tackled the amount of famine in Terra. Before anyone could consume however much food they wanted to, this resulted in deaths in families. The Free Food Act made it illegal to consume more than one food a year, as well as food was free for the country. Changes like these made a big part in improving the community. Next question is, how do different values and morals of people in society, both in the Civic Mirror and Canada, have a positive or negative impact on society? While I strongly believe that different morals and opinions can have a major effect on Canada as a whole, our opinions define us. Different opinions is a good thing. It helps us understand new concepts and ways of thinking. Not everyone's view on what the best country possible could be the same. That's why there are multiple political parties. Not everyone shares the same goals, opinions, and dreams for their country. There are those who believe the government should exist and make a huge impact on the community, but in turn charge more for taxes, and that's left-wing, where there are others who believe the government should play a minor role in the country and have overall lower taxes, this being right-wing. There simply isn't a right way to rule a country. There are certainly better and worse ways, but nothing is perfect when it comes to government, and what one person might find the best way to rule a country, another might disagree. When it comes to a country, the opinions and morals of the people are what make the country either thrive or fail. That appears to be the last question that we have. So in this segment, I'm going to talk about my overall experience, what I learned, and some other things. Overall, I very much enjoyed the Civic Mirror game. It allowed us to experience what the real world could and probably will be like. I enjoyed caring for my fictional family and having to continue to remain on top of managing my money, food, shelter, etc. There was a lot of fun to be had in trying to overcome the challenge that the game presented. I personally found the Civic Mirror quite difficult to succeed. This was due to the fact that it is extremely difficult to dig yourself out of poverty. If you were poor, chances were you would remain poor for many more years. But like I mentioned before, the challenge added another level of enjoyment to be had. My chances of success were crippled severely when my business partner Cole accidentally sold our power plant in the first year of the game, like I mentioned before. This power plant was our only means of generating profit, and we had already pooled all our money together to purchase it. This left us with little cash in our pocket and no way to generate income. This hindered our ability to succeed in the game. And like I mentioned before, once you were poor, it was extremely difficult to recover. Overall, I found this game to be very enjoyable. Even though there was obstacles to overcome, it only added to the overall experience. So what did I learn through the Civic class and the Civic Mirror? The Civic Mirror and the Civic class overall was an engaging learning experience like I mentioned before. I learned more things than words can express, from how to manage your finances effectively to what it's like to take care of your own family. Overall, a really enjoyable experience. What I learned most from the Civic Mirror was definitely how the government worked as a whole. Coming into class, I had exactly zero idea how any of it worked. I didn't even know what liberal and conservative stood for. But after partaking in the class, all of that has changed. Learning about government in class helped build a foundation of understanding of how it all works, and the Civic Mirror continued to effectively drill that information into my mind. I learned how it all works and then got to experience it firsthand through the Civic Mirror. In fact, I have conversations about the government with my family now, just because my understanding of the whole topic is so much greater than it was. I also feel that our class was extremely lucky for timing. Considering the elections were happening during our civics class, this allowed us to see what we're learning in the real world. I can confidently say that I very much enjoyed the civics class as a whole and the Civic Mirror. The last question is, what was it like managing personal finances, and was there any personal economic struggles? Well, in my class's country, Terra, there was quite a bit of difficulties concerning the country's overall wealth. For most of the residents of Terra, me included, each year was a struggle to sustain ourselves and provide for our fictional families. This was due to the fact that there were very few jobs available. I personally had a job for a total of 1 year, and that job was accidentally taken from me from my business partner, like I mentioned before. This meant I was unemployed, which made it extremely difficult to sustain myself, and for many of my classmates, they faced the same fate. This caused mass segregation in our country, where there were those that were extremely poor, like myself, and those that had tens of thousands of dollars in their bank account, because they owned either one of the main hexes or multiple. In our country, there wasn't very much middle class. It was kind of just a great divide between the rich and the poor, where very few people were in that middle class area. There were attempts to resolve this problem by reducing the amount of people in poverty state, but most failed, until the introduction of the welfare program was put into place. This managed to effectively reduce the amount of people that were shackled by poverty, as well as reducing the wealth of the upper class, finally achieving that more middle class area.